Ah yes, it's time for another album ranking. Today we are ranking Imperium Dekadenz, one of my favourite black metal bands of all time. Absolutely adore this band. There are two members. We got Horsley, who does vocals, synth, guitar, and we got Vespasian, who does, if that's how I pronounce it, does drums, guitar, bass, and keyboards, and also synths. How can I explain to you Imperium Dekadenz sound if you haven't heard any of their music? Well, they are atmospheric black metal. The production is absolutely fantastic, like nearly every single album from this band, and to be honest, there's not one bad album by this band. Each single album's like a 9 and 10 in my opinion. Like every single album they've created in their discography are close to masterpieces in my opinion. One of the hardest rankings I've ever had to do on this channel. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fucking hard. They were ranking Imperium Dekadenz's albums from the worst to the best. And I'll tell you what, we are talking inches away from the worst album to the best album. This is how consistent this band is. So first of all, let's get on with the weakest album. And we're talking about the debut album. Apologies for the butcher. Und die Welt, kalt, leer. That is their debut album, and this is their weakest album in my opinion. You know, they were first starting off. This is quite an atmospheric album, but there are some weaknesses on this album. It's like the production, probably the weakest production of any album, and it doesn't have that in-depth tone. Some really good songs on this album, don't get me wrong. Really love their heavy drumming. The guitars at times do sound thin, and the vocals are there, but they're not as intense, not as visceral as the other albums I'm going to mention. But yeah, Und die Welt, kalt, leer is still a pretty solid album, but in my opinion, it goes last. Next up is Meadows of Nostalgia. This is a really good album, quite impactful, it's quite punchy, but I do love some of these songs, like Brogo Banus. Brogo Banus is a fantastic song, the really nice guitar work. Really love how there's some instrumental breaks on this particular album as well, incorporating more symphonic and orchestral elements. Also, you got Tränen des Bacchus as well to end off the album. But yeah, it's a pretty solid album by this band. Vocals are intense, quite visceral, and I just love how atmospheric this album is. It certainly packs a punch. The production sounds fantastic. The guitars are dynamic and the drumming is on point. I just love the overall chord progression throughout some of these songs, and not to mention the melody is quite infectious. But of course, there are some songs that don't really gravitate towards me. Ove Silva is just a fantastic song. I just love the choir in the background. Imperium Dekadenz, like I said, don't create any bad albums, and Meadows of Nostalgia is going here. Coming up next is this album, Dämmerung der Szenarien. Okay, in case you don't know, this band is also a German band. Their earlier albums were in German, as you expect. But yeah, this album is absolutely solid. I fucking love this album. I really love how they're starting to build the atmosphere. This is their sophomore album, and it's a huge improvement from the debut album in my opinion. It's an intense fucking album, it really is, and I just love the overall elements of surprise. Vocals are intense. I love the guitar work on Night Whispers to the Wise, has just a beautiful guitar solo. And you got songs like Hordes from the Dark Star, pretty solid song as well. But yeah, it's a solid album. I just love how at times there are beautiful instrumental breaks. The actual self-titled track, you also got Hamesha as well. But yeah, some solid songs on this album, and this is why it's so damn high, because it flows very well. I just feel that Meadows of Nostalgia doesn't flow as well as this particular album. Next up is Manibvs. My god, what an incredible album. This is a masterpiece by this band. This is where it's just so close from number 3 to number 1, but holy shit, this album's fantastic. Production is so damn in depth. I love the production on this album. Love the orchestral moments on this album as well. Still I Rise is such an amazing song, allowing only fragments of light. the choirs as well, that just makes this album absolutely majestic and so damn atmospheric. You're trapped within a mountain trying to escape. The visceral vocals you're getting on this album are fantastic. I just love the overall flow. This album flows so damn well, and it's just one of their best albums. It really is. I just love the symphonic elements you're getting throughout some of this album. It's quite epic, and overall it's a really fun fucking black metal album in my opinion. The riffs are catchy, the melodies are there. Yeah, it's one of their best. Coming up next is When We Are Forgotten. This album packs a punch. It was released in 2019 and holy shit, what an incredible album it is. Love the self-titled track When We Are Forgotten. Bis ich bin as well, along with Transcendence. And then you got Absence Elysium. What an amazing song that is. And to end off the album, you got Owl of the Black Forest. Love this album, I really do. I just love I love the flow. This album is a pretty long album. It stretches around about an hour and 12 minutes, but it doesn't feel like an hour and 12 minutes. You can just lay down, sit back and relax and listen to this absolutely beautiful atmospheric black metal album. They tone it down with the symphonic elements, unlike this Manibvs. But this album is just a visceral black metal album at times, especially the melodies at times are quite infectious. And overall you got Seance, which is an instrumental track, very atmospheric. And you got Owl of the Black Forest to end off the album, which is about 8 minutes and so damn good. It really is. I fucking love this album and it's one of their best. So my favorite Imperium Dekadenz album is Procella Vadens. Oh, what an absolutely incredible album this is. This is their best work in my opinion. It's got A Million Moons. How can you not love A Million Moons? A Million Moons is such an awesome song. You also got Lacrimae Mundi, the title track Procella Vadens, the beautiful guitar solo throughout that song, Ocean Mountains Mirror, those vocals on that song, how epic and majestic some of this album is. They incorporate more orchestral elements throughout this album that create such an atmospheric vibe, and it's so damn good. And the melodies are so damn infectious. I love the guitar work on this album. Haraz's vocals are so damn good. And the drumming is fantastic. The production is amazing as well. Holy shit, this is a fantastic fucking album by this band. Absolutely love it. At the moment, Procella Vadens is my favorite Imperium Dekadenz album. And you know what? It could change the next day. Like I said, the by far the weakest album is their debut album, but the rest of the albums absolutely fucking love. And if I ever had to score Procella Vadens, I wouldn't hesitate to give it a 10 out of 10. It's my favorite album. It was released in 2010 as well, but it doesn't matter. When We Are Forgotten is such an awesome album as well, along with Dämmerung. So absolutely amazing band. If you haven't checked them out, check out Imperium Dekadenz. I think you will fucking love it if you like atmospheric black metal. So guys, that's where I leave you for my ranking for Imperium Dekadenz. Comment below what you thought about this album ranking, and also, if you know them, rank them as well. Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? Keep the discussion going in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.